Welcome back. This is Robert and I am the Recovery Guy. And in the words of my dear friend, I am a happy, grateful, recovered alcoholic. And I like you to know that, not to shed anything or take any credit for myself, but I would expect you to expect me, with the amount of time that I've been involved in recovery, to be living the promises, to be happy in my life and the things that I've received in my journey, to be grateful for all the things that I've gotten, most of which are undeserved, and to be joyous, to be free, to be all the things that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, all the things that the Program of Recovery tells me I can have if I'm willing to go to any lengths. So I am a happy, grateful, recovered alcoholic. And if you can't say that today, I hope somewhere along your road of recovery, you one day will be able to say that as well. You know, today I want to talk to you about a really interesting concept that I've been developing as part of my personal recovery many years ago. I'm a real big fan of many others out there, motivational speakers and alike. And one of the speakers and authors that I came across years ago is a fellow by the name of Covey. And I really liked a lot of his writings because Stephen didn't come from an addictive background, but as a doctor, as a psychologist, Stephen developed things on what he calls the paradigms, a new way of thinking. And I knew that if I wanted to go to another level of recovery for me in my personal life, that I needed to have a new way of thinking. I needed to set aside the old ways, where Stephen will say something to the effect of, every breakthrough came with a break with. So I needed to break from my old thinking to develop a new way of thinking. One of the things that Stephen talked about and taught on were called the 4 L's. And what it is, he teaches that a fulfilling life requires recognition of the existence and importance of dimensions. Stephen teaches that a fulfilling life requires recognizing the existence, the importance, and the differences of what he calls the 4 human dimensions, which are the 4 L's. And they are to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. And when I heard those things for the first time, it really intrigued me. I was many years into my recovery, probably 6 or 7 years of recovery already before I had first heard this. And if you would, picture a pyramid. And at the lowest end of the pyramid is to live. And then the next level of the pyramid is to love. The next one is to learn. And finally, the top of the pyramid is to leave a legacy. Each one of these 4 dimensions has a characteristic attached to it. And we'll start with the first one, which is to live. And the characteristic with that dimension is the physical. So when we first come into recovery, everything is very physical for us. It's our world of survival. It then becomes our world of action, so the survival can continue. Because when we come in and we're ripping and running and we're tired and we're beat up, we don't know if we can live. We just know that we don't want to die. And of course, conversely, that is to learn how to live. So that is the lowest domain of the 4th dimension, just to live. Everything is about not dying. So we admit that we're powerless over alcohol, that our life has become unmanageable. We come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, because we're pretty nuts when we get here. I mean, no one in their right mind would do the things that we've done, go to the places we we go to and have the types of relationships that we have. So it's a very basic and basal instinct. I just want to live. I don't want to die. It's the lowest domain, but certainly an important one, because if we're not living, then to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy, none of those matter anymore because we're dead. So it's that world of survival. It's that world of action. That leads us into the next dimension, which is to love. To live was on the physical. To love is on the emotional. And really, I love this dimension because it's the world of belonging. It's the world of caring. It's all about connecting. It's all about loving. This is actually a very difficult dimension because it involves others. And if you're like me when you were out there drinking and using, we were so selfish, we were so self-centered that others were only important if I could get more drink, more drug, more sex, more of whatever I needed for that moment. But that's all the value you had. But it created such a degree of loneliness, it created such a degree of despair and hopelessness within me that I had lost all hope. Bill called it incomprehensible demoralization, where we knew, we were convinced to a man that we were as low as we could go. So when we come in and we get to live, and we know we can now live, then the next dimension is to love, to have that sense of belonging. You know, in the big book, in the preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous is, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that we might solve our common problem and to help others to recover from alcoholism. Do you know, if I had only heard that Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share, I'd have come back just for that, because I needed to love. I needed to feel love. I needed to learn how to love others. I needed to have that sense of belonging. I was an emotional wreck when I got here. And learning how to love, learning how to belong, learning how to care for others gave me a sense of emotional stability. And I've learned how to carry that through my sobriety of over 31 years. Loving is such a critical, key component to us as humans. We are fellowship starved and fellowship craving when we get to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. To learn how to love, to learn how to belong. Remember that first feeling you had when you went to that meeting and you heard the people in the room and you looked around and you thought, you know what, I might not be like them, but there's something in me that says I belong. And then at the end of the meeting, they say, keep coming back. And I thought, you know, this is where I can learn how to care, because these are our people who care about me. So the first dimension is to live, which is the physical. The second dimension is to love, which is the emotional, which takes us to the third dimension, which is to learn, which is the mental side of things. And as Stephen says, it's a world of learning. It's a world of understanding. It's a world of creating. And you know, when I was out there was no learning. The only things that I was learning were continuing my ability to stay out there drinking and using. And I had to come into Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and I got to the program through Gamblers Anonymous, you know. So we all qualify for all of the programs out there. We're pretty messed up by the time we get to the rooms of AA and NA and alike. So I had to say that I didn't know anything, because everything I did know was killing me. So I had to say, I just want to learn how to live. Thank goodness I came to a place that was going to teach me how to love. But now, since I was willing to say, I don't know anything, now I'm ready to learn. Now I'm ready to read the big book, to read the basic text, to begin to pay attention to the things that you were trying to teach me, that the way I was living and the way I was conducting my life was wrong, was killing me. Now I had to be ready to learn another way. I had to learn a way of understanding what I was learning so I could apply it to myself and learn how to create a life that I would love to live. So that third dimension is to learn. It's a mental dimension where I have to say, I don't know, but I want to learn. So I live, I love, I learn, which takes me to the highest dimension, the highest domain, which is the leaving a legacy, which is the domain of the spiritual. And it is the realm of belief. It is the realm of a dedication to a higher power, and a dedication to which I have never known to be dedicated before. You know, as we pass through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and the like, all the steps are designed to teach me how to have a relationship with a higher power, a power greater than me, a God of my own understanding. And if you don't believe me, look at the steps. Step 2, Step 3, Step 4, Step 5, Step 6, Step 7, Steps 10, 11, and 12 directly deal with me and God as I understood God. A way for me to go from insanity to service, to making sense out of things that never made sense to me before, but now I needed to adopt it. So out of the 12 steps of recovery, 8 of them are directly designed to teach me how to have a relationship with a power greater than myself. That is the spiritual realm, the spiritual dimension. It is the avenue, the vehicle by which I learn to leave a legacy. What is my legacy? My legacy is that of a belief, of a core set of values that my living, my loving, my learning can rest upon, because it's all grounded into my dedication with a higher power. You know, on page 85 of the big book, it says, we are not cured of alcoholism. It says what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual conditioning. And then it says every day is a day I must take God's vision for me, His will for me, and incorporate that into my daily activity. These dimensions are important. They're the 4 L's: to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. It is the physical, it is the emotional, it is the mental, and it is the spiritual. I hope that you can take this concept, listen to this video segment more than once. Let it become part of you. Find out where you're at in the process and learn how to adopt these 4 L's into your life to enrich and grow and develop your degree of recovery, of sobriety, that we are more fully equipped to carry this message of hope to those who still suffer. My name is Robert. I am the Recovery Guy, and thanks for joining me today.